Welcome to Business Talk, presented in collaboration with the University of Rio Grande and the Ohio State University South Centers, from the heart of southeastern Ohio at the University of Rio Grande TV studio. Our goals are simple: promote the University of Rio Grande and the Ohio State University South Centers, as well as advocate local small business and their support organizations. More importantly, promote southeastern Ohio as a wonderful place to live, explore, and learn. There are many different ways you can find us. The University of Rio Grande Cable Access Channel 17, live online at blogtalkradio.com, and on YouTube if you are unable to catch our show live. Introducing our co-hosts, Jason Winters, Mike Thompson, Patrick Dengel. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the show.
Pat,
I'm here.
Jason started this in the beginning, and he's got me to where I'm laughing. So you may just have to take over.
I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. I keep seeing your face, and then that's just enough.
Oh, hey, whatever brings joy to you, I guess.
Pat, why don't you introduce our
I would be
guest,
glad.
Our victim for the week.
because I'm not sure who he is.
Well, actually, we have Peter Masters is an MBA student here at the University of Rio Grande. He's in his first year, moving to his second year in the MBA program. But
Are
this
you
is
sure about that?
Oh, you didn't tell him about?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Peter, you have to do your report over. We also have Jason Watson. Jason Watson is graduating a week from
Saturday.
Saturday.
The 11th.
Wow. Who would have thought, huh?
Yeah, I know, right?
Accidents happen.
Slip through the cracks every now and then.
Hang on, doesn't
And Jason came in thinking he was going to run the camera, and we said, nah, sit down there. And then, of course, we have Jessica Gall. Jessica is a junior here at the University of Rio Grande, completing her junior year. But we wanted to also honor Peter. You know, Peter is an international student, if you want to say. He's been to a number of different countries.
I thought sure he was going to say an international man of mystery. Yeah. I just thought that was on the tip of his tongue. Yeah.
Double O status.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not allowed to say now.
Now we've blown it.
It
Okay.
does. But it's rather interesting. You know, we've had an opportunity to talk with Mike and with you, Jason, about some of your travels abroad. I know all of us know exactly where England's at, and so it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Patrick.
It's our pleasure. So tell us everything we Americans want to know about England.
Well, just as well you've asked me, Patrick, because if Jason asked me, it was going to be 30 minutes of yes and no answers. But seeing as though you've asked, I mean, England, it's only a fraction, obviously, of the size of America, but we are very heavily populated. It is a very diverse population. We have a lot of Europeans, Polish especially, that come over to England and work.
You have 61 million residents. A little under 61
I know,
million.
looking at them stats, they were published a few years ago. I think
Is
we're
that
even higher
England
now.
or UK?
It'll be UK.
Okay.
Okay, so
UK.
what's the difference between UK and England?
The UK is United Kingdom, that is Scotland, Wales, England and Northern Ireland. So obviously the English government actually oversees them other countries as well.
Does that also include Canada?
No,
No.
we don't have Canada part of the United Kingdom.
But it does have some affiliation with the monarchy?
It does have an affiliation with the monarchy, but they're not under our control.
Oh, okay.
Because the monarchy and the government in England are completely separate entities. The government have control and all the power, basically. The monarchy is still there as figureheads.
Okay,
And
yeah, I was going to ask you,
politicians.
how does it operate with the Queen and the Prime Minister?
The Queen and the Prime Minister, from what I understand of their relationship, the Prime Minister obviously meets with the Queen on certain subjects and topics, but the power in England and the UK is all through the government. The monarchy passed that power over quite some time ago, and now they are basically the monarchy is still.
Did they pass it or was it taken?
Probably a bit of both.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, the monarchy is still there. They do all the public relations. in all the foreign countries. I mean, if anyone thinks of England, the first thing they think about is our Queen, and obviously the King, the princes, things like
the
that.
prince and his wife.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the biggest thing that they found not last year, the year before, when William and Kate got married. They had a big, massive weekend off in England. They put an extra day's holiday in, and the support it got from the public was exceptional. I don't think they were quite expecting it to be that big, because people in England sometimes say, why do we still have a monarchy?
Yeah.
But it's pride, it's tradition, it's something that's always been there, and I think they realised last year it's something they don't want to go away.
I know I've seen their parliament debate things on television.
It's very different from our Congress here.
Yeah, they kind of speak their mind.
Yes.
Yeah, it gets up to the heated debate very, very often.
Yeah, you would think with the British reservedness or whatever that they would be very pleasant towards each other, but the gloves are off.
No, it's very cutthroat. I mean, last year, let me get this right, the last election, I'll say it correctly, was the last time we actually had a coalition government.
Yeah.
We had two parties join power and actually form our main government.
That's interesting.
So, I mean, but even then you see in tabloids and newspapers differences of opinions between them two parties being together, and they're now trying to decide if it's been a success or not with two powers.
So that's
Yeah.
So
the
would
Labour
you-
Party and the
Liberal Democrats.
bold Democrats?
Liberal
Liberal
Democrats,
Democrats. Oh,
yes.
okay.
So it's been debated over here. Would you take Piers Morgan back?
You're more than welcome to keep him.
That's what I thought.
I mean, he's big back in England, but I think he's caused a lot more controversy since he's come over to the States.
Yeah, okay.
Just as long as we can keep Chef Ramsay, we're good.
You can have him as well.
Okay, so what do you miss when you're here?
I think the big things I miss, obviously, you miss your family, being away
Yeah.
from family, friends, things like that. In terms of lifestyle, I miss a lot of the English foods. Although people think we eat very similar, there's a lot of differences to how
What's
we
The
the-
only
what's the
ones I know
difference?
is fish and chips.
Yeah, we have fish and chips, which is basically what you call fish and fries. I think American culture is completely different in the fact that Americans like to eat out a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's everywhere, but from my experiences in America, you go into people's houses and you look in the cupboards, the pantry, whatever, there's not a lot in there because they like to go out and eat.
Yeah, that's been the past 20 years.
But if you go to an English house, you'll find their cupboards stocked because they eat everything at home. Like, I go home, I just have home cooked meals every day.
Okay.
I mean, I don't make them, but
Now, when-
So
When you
give
miss-
us an idea of some of the meals.
I was
Back
going to
home?
say the things you miss. Is that English food?
Yes.
Because I know you have a lot of diversity, like Indian and
yes,
those
we do have a
things.
lot of diversity. We have a lot of Indian and Chinese takeaways, which are very, very popular. Curries and things like that are very popular. But I think home cooked meals, normally we look at shepherd's pie, which is basically mince, gravy, vegetables, and mashed potato cooked on top of it with cheese. Bangers and mash, sausage and mashed potato, and our sausages are completely different. And Yorkshire puddings. Every Sunday is customary in England and tradition to actually sit down with the family at a table and eat a proper meal.
Now, is pudding a different thing than what we call pudding?
Right. No, we do have puddings, but a Yorkshire pudding is completely different. A Yorkshire
Right.
pudding is part of a main meal. It's basically egg and flour and milk, and whenever you mix it all together, you put it into a special. It looks like a cupcake tray, and when you actually put it into the oven, it makes like a ball. And when it comes out, so you put gravy in it, whatever you want to put in it. Or we also have Toad in the Hole, which is a very big Yorkshire pudding with sausages baked into it.
How come there aren't any English restaurants? It sounds like you have a lot of different food.
In England, mainly, I mean, we do have obviously bars and pubs where you normally get your English foods back home, and they do, certain pubs especially and bars are renowned for their actual English meals they make. But over here, I think you use different ingredients.
Huh.
I mean, I've tried to make shepherd's pie over here and can never get the right type of gravy unless I would go to a Publix supermarket, which I haven't found in Ohio at the moment where we are. I know they're around, but I mean,
You
can
probably
buy,
find it in
you can-
Cincinnati.
yeah, you can buy English products there, so you can actually make the proper English gravy that we are customary and used to, rather than beef stock or something like that. It just doesn't give it the same
So
edge.
is
Did
that
you
something
like
that we would like?
I think it would be.
Okay.
I mean, anyone who I know is American who's been over to England and visited. I've had a few friends in the past come over. Whenever they eat English food, they're like, "Oh, this is so much better."
Do you like spotted dick?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
It is a
that
pudding, by the way.
is. I've got to ask.
It is a pudding with raisins in.
We are live on television.
It's a legitimate meal.
FCC will be calling us.
No, it's
Our candy's different as well, though.
it's probably not as sweet, right?
I'd say it was sweeter.
Really?
Our chocolate.
Because most of the other parts of the world are not nearly as sugary as what the United States is.
Maybe. I mean, I just know whenever you have chocolate, especially,
Mhm.
Americans that I've given English chocolate to can taste the difference straight away.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just, I think English and UK candy's a lot better to eat and, well, tastes a lot better anyway. But, I mean, I don't know why they haven't brought it over.
So what did you have when you initially came over here? I don't care if Ohio or
Yeah.
Florida. What did you have to get used to? What was the initial culture shock?
Well, first of all, I went to Florida. The biggest thing was the weather.
Yeah.
I went from cold,
What's
wet.
that bright thing in the sky,
Exactly.
right?
I went from cold and wet to sun and humidity. So that was the biggest thing, I think. Then apart from that, obviously getting used to eating the American way, which is everything is basically fried and
Yeah.
things like that. Whereas in England we have sort of.
Now, did it make you sick when you first started eating it?
No, I wouldn't say it made me sick. I mean, I have eaten like similar food before, but just getting used to that way of especially cooking things.
Well, did you see a change in your body or your?
Not while I was playing soccer, but the last few years I have realised a bit of a difference. But I mean,
Give it 20 more years.
Yeah, I think another thing is that how spread out it is. I mean,
Right.
Rio Grande not so much, obviously, with how small a community it is, but if you go to the major cities, I mean, I was in Daytona Beach and you couldn't walk around anywhere, you need the car. Whereas in England, I could walk from my house to the shops, anywhere I wanted to go, basically.
And public transit.
Exactly. Public transport is a lot more accessible over there.
Mhm.
And, I mean, we have pubs, which are like a 2-minute walk either side of my house. We're right in the middle of 2 pubs.
So
And
there's
one of the-
absolutely no reason to drink and drive in England.
Exactly.
One of the things that I've been told from other English people or foreigners from the islands, the small thing that they have to get used to is how to look both ways when you're crossing the street because the traffic is coming on a different side.
I'd never thought to mention that, but that is one thing. I had problems before when I was driving, getting in the wrong side of the car.
Yeah.
And I remember doing that.
At least you realized it before
wasn't-
you got on the
but
road.
It wasn't here. I went back to England at Christmas time, and I've just by myself. I've got into my car. Well, I've opened the wrong door,
Yeah.
and I've sat in the passenger side. And I've sat there and I've looked around and just gone, I'm in the wrong side. Get back out. I was looking, hopefully looking, no one's watching me, so I was okay. I was like, imagine if someone's looking out the window right now.
I've got both. I've got a Land Rover which came from England, which is right-hand drive, and
Yeah.
the rest of my cars are left, so I can feel that.
Well, we have a lot smaller cars as well.
Hmm.
You don't see pickup trucks in England. Very rarely.
Yeah, my 4-door Jaguar was smaller than the Trans Am that I had.
Yeah.
So, what do you do when you need to transport large, like what about furniture or something like that?
I mean,
Do you-
people have, we call them vans. You don't really see them over here. I mean,
Transit van.
I suppose it's more like a FedEx van,
A lorry.
or something like that. Yeah, we
like
call
a
it
U-Haul
transit.
or something?
Yeah, but not as normally as large. We normally have.
And I know in Germany, nobody has a pickup.
Yeah.
You have moving people to do that.
We don't have pickups as well because of the weather.
Mm-hmm.
You transport anything in pickups, it's getting drenched.
Right.
So
Yeah.
everything that we transport has to be closed.
And what I always thought was funny is I'm into English cars, and all the little cars were like convertibles. You know, the MGs and the Triumphs and all that kind of thing. And it's like, really? You have convertibles? And they come from there.
Yeah.
And they all leak.
Yeah. And in the winter, don't take them out.
Yeah.
Because as soon as it snows on the ground, they just spin.
Hmm.
I did that last year. End up halfway sideways up a bank.
Yeah. Here or there?
No, back home.
Okay.
So I quickly got out of that car.
If you looked on the globe
Yes.
and you were to follow England, where it would be on the
Like latitude or something.
yeah, the latitude, it would come to
Or
I think it's
longitude.
Newfoundland.
Yeah,
Canada.
Ohio is
Yeah.
more like Spain.
Yes, yes.
And, up there, England, and depending on which part, whether
Yeah.
it's Scotland,
Mhm.
then you're way up there near probably Alaska.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing you do realise is Ohio, when the weather changes, it changes very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
in the UK it takes a lot longer to change. So we'll have it's now getting warmer there, but they had such a much longer winter than what we did. Like it started getting cold end of September there.
See,
Whereas here,
I've never
it was
seen
November.
pictures of England having snow.
Oh, we get a lot of snow.
Really?
Yes, this winter especially, they had an awful lot of snow.
Well, it doesn't pile up as tall.
No, it doesn't pile up as tall, but it causes so much disruption. It's unbelievable. Like I think last year they run about how many billions it had wasted the one day when London had to basically shut down because of snow.
Yeah, their climate is moderate. You know, it's sort of like our West Coast because of the way that the streams go in the Atlantic. It on that side of the Atlantic, it's coming from the south to the north, so it warms that side just sort of like it does in California, where we get the upper part of the north coming down against our eastern coast, so it cools our east coast.
Oh, that's right. We know that Jason is also graduating. He has his degree in business.
Yes, business communication.
And I'm just curious, have you ever thought about going over to England? And if you did, what would you want to see?
You know, I would, if I did go over there, I would like to see some of the historical stuff, some of the castles and whatnot. Since, you know, I'm American and that's kind of our heritage over here, just a little bit. So I'd want to see that kind of stuff. I wouldn't mind living over there, or at least visiting, see what was going on. I'm open to that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of castles still.
Mm-hmm.
Not like the older castles obviously are in ruins, but the ruins are very well preserved.
Right.
We have an actual trust in England that preserves historical sites, so you can actually walk around most of the castles. There's a city about an hour away from where I live that still has an old castle wall you can walk around. It's still actually up in operation, and people can actually go and walk around the city walls.
Well, I think it would just be fascinating to see the culture and how similar and different our two cultures are. And big thing would be the architecture over there, like you said. Just to see how that translates to the people involved in the culture, really.
Yeah, we think something over here is old when it's 100 years old.
Yeah.
Yes. And it needs to be tore down and rebuilt.
Yeah.
So I'm really young, right?
But no, we have a lot of buildings, especially, I'd say more out in the countryside. When you look at some of the pubs and things like that, they still have the old Tudor beams in, which is a good few hundred years. So, I mean, them houses still in operation and things right now, and our architecture and the way they build the houses. I mean, we don't suffer from hurricanes and tornadoes so much. There's the one every now and again, which does normally very little damage, because all our houses, we don't build them, obviously in America with the amount of storms, you build them with wooden frames. English is all pure bricks and mortar. We don't do any wooden frames at all.
And you probably have all the electrical lines and the communications under the ground.
We didn't until a few years ago.
Yeah.
Everything
okay.
has just started going underground now. We used to have electric pylons run right by the side of our house, and about 6 years ago, they took all them down. It's now gone everything underground.
Okay, because when Germany rebuilt, they put everything underground, so it would be a little less harm to it less harm come to it.
Yeah, they're also trying to do a lot of renewable energy sources at the moment. They're having a big push towards wind farms.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I know they've just installed a brand new one last year, about 10 minutes away from my house in the ocean, just off the coast. It's about.
Now, is it very windy there, or is it just on the coast? Because when I lived in Bremerhaven, Germany, it was on the North Sea coast, and it always was blowing.
We're right on the North Sea. It does get very, very windy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 50 minutes inland, and sometimes you go outside our house and the roof tiles will be blown off.
Yeah,
It
and
gets that windy.
Wow.
there was lines, you might have a road that goes through the countryside, and there's trees on either side, and they're all leaning
Yep.
because the wind is always blowing from one direction.
Yep, that's true.
Crazy.
So how's the business environment in England? I mean, Jason wants to come over, and he's got a
That's
communications degree. Can
Right.
he get a job?
Personally, right now, the economy is just as bad as what it is in America. We've got a very high unemployment rate.
Do they like Americans? If American come over, would they be looked at like, well, we'll see if they measure up, or it's an American?
Well, I think people look at it different ways. I mean, because some people value the American degrees, other people don't because of the way the education system is set up.
Mhm.
Because it's completely different to the English system.
Right.
and how standardized and national the English system is. Some people favor the American system and others don't, so it depends who you're dealing with.
So I guess you've got that to deal with because you're going back with an American degree.
Well,
Except you're disguised with the accent.
Yeah, or if I hope to stay over here, right? I can keep my degree and stay over here.
Now, Jason, I understand that Italy has a shortage of pizza makers.
Really?
They need 6,000 pizza makers
Really?
in Italy right now. So, if you can't make it up north, you could always go down to Italy.
I can make pizzas here too.
But no.
So you have been here, and then when you go back, have you been back for a time?
Yes, I was back
What do you
home for-
miss of here when you go there?
Here, I think, is a lot more laid back. I think there's a lot more opportunities here. I took it from my time in Florida, but now obviously being in Ohio as well. I think everyone's lifestyles are a lot more laid back. I know Americans say we work so many hours and we think we should work less and things. You don't get as many vacation days as what we do in England. But in terms of how laid back, how friendly everyone is and things like that, I think America's a lot like an easier place to try and succeed than what is in England at the moment, because of how heavily populated England is and the lack of jobs is. There's not many opportunities, especially from the northern areas where I'm from. There's not a lot of opportunities. So I've been over here and speaking to people. I get a lot more positive responses over here than what I do back home. My only stumbling block, obviously, is the fact of immigration.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're a lot more laid back here in our culture because we have real football.
Real football is played with feet, without pads and shoulders.
Yeah.
Shoulder pads.
You did get my curiosity up, when I was listening to Jason. Jessica's the only one that has not been outside the United States.
Yes, correct.
And what would you want to see over in England?
Basically the same things Jason was saying. I would really like to try their food, and I know this sounds weird, but the pubs. I would love to see what they eat in there and the different types of beers they drink, and I don't know. Everyone I've talked to always says they're a great place to go with your friends, and it's a daily thing for them just to go into the pub. So I would like to see that, and like Jason said, the architecture and our historical differences. So
the one thing that I would want to see, and Wanda and I, my wife and I, have always threatened to go over to England.
And they wouldn't let
but on PBS, my wife and I, Wanda, fell in love with a TV show called Doc Martin.
Yep.
And the thing that is so alluring is Port
Isaac.
Port Isaac.
That's what you mentioned.
That is such the hillside you were talking about, the houses.
Yeah.
If anyone hasn't seen any of the episodes, such a lovely place, and I would think that all of England looks like that.
The coastal towns do. A lot of the coastal towns have the old little cottages because they're classed as fishing towns. And a lot of the old fishing towns still have the old fisherman cottages. You can barely get through the door just because of height. I'm only 5'7", and I'd be close to hitting the top of the door when I walk through.
Do you think
Things like
Americans
that.
are generally larger?
No.
Not so much anymore.
No, I don't think so. England is now...
Fatter?
Well, yeah, that too.
I think it
I
goes
was gonna
back
say-
to there's an awful lot of pubs,
Yeah.
and they were building the doors after they visited the pub.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just as Jessica was saying about the food, it would be interesting to try some of the cuisine, because perhaps it's the same or perhaps it's not. I don't
Right.
know.
I actually, you were talking about the shepherd's pie. My mom actually makes it every once in a while too.
Oh, really?
But I would like to see
The
the
English-
differences between your family's
Yeah.
shepherd's pie and mine. So
Yeah.
I
My
think
grandma
that'd be
has
cool.
a fantastic recipe.
Really?
I don't know how she does it. But I've tried it and it just does not work.
Yeah, the grandmothers, my grandmother in Germany, they don't follow a recipe. They just throw
Yeah.
some stuff together, and it's great.
Yeah.
Mixed with love.
Yeah.
And I also noticed Pygmalion, Bernard Shaw's play about My Fair Lady, how the different accents. Peter, I got to tell you, you have an accent.
I know that.
But if we were to go over there with our different languages, etc., would they understand us?
Yes. I think everywhere in England has no problem understanding Americans because you speak a lot slower than what we do.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Is there any particular accents of American type that they make fun of?
The country accents,
Of
normally.
course.
Yeah.
It's the country or the surfer boy accents.
Which I was thinking
Okay.
about this too. Do you guys have regional dialect like we do?
Yes.
Okay.
We have
Very much so.
You can travel 30 minutes away and it'll be
Completely different.
Yes. I mean,
That's kinda
you,
like
you can
here.
probably
I mean,
go
it's kinda
across
like-
London.
yeah. You can go from north of London to south of London. It'll be
Yeah.
different.
We can go 15 minutes south and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yep. 15,
Whoa.
20 minutes, and you've got a whole different.
But people say I sound Scottish or I sound like I'm from Newcastle. If you actually listen to a person from Newcastle or from Scotland, you do realise it's a big difference.
Well, I must say that Mike honored you by wearing his
Kilt.
kilt. Yeah, but you called it a Thompson kilt.
It's a tartan.
Tartan.
All right. The pattern of it is a Thompson tartan.
The Tartan Army, the Scottish.
The Scottish.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a chance to go up to Scotland?
I went to Scotland as a child, but I've never been back up there in quite a few good years. Quite a few years. But I mean, when I went there as a child, it was basically to a holiday camp, not actually touring around Scotland. I just know it's even colder up in Scotland than what it is in England.
We have a question
A question.
coming in from another part of the.
Okay.
What's this question?
What's a scouse? I think
What's
I'm
a
going to say what's a scouser. A scouser is a person from Liverpool.
Okay.
Now, if you know Liverpool, Liverpool's the northwest of England.
The birthplace of the Beatles.
Exactly. There you go. So if you've heard the Beatles talk, you'll find out what a scouser is. It's basically just someone from Liverpool with their accent. If you
Is that
ever hear
a derogatory thing?
them. Not really. It's sort of classed as a. How do I say this?
I mean, it's not like
Politely.
redneck. or
Politely.
Sort of. It's an accent where if you hear it and you hear them talking, you're like, oh, I'm glad I'm not from there.
something. Yeah, they're like. There's one accent that I just cannot get. Cockney.
Cockney,
If
London.
those guys go on quick, it's like
Yeah.
I'm lost.
Yes, I think that's the same anywhere though. I've had people come across to my area, and if I stand and talk to my friends,
Mm-hmm.
they get lost.
Hmm.
And every few weeks, after I've been home, when I come back, it takes a few weeks for me to slow back down again.
Now, when you go back home, do they notice a difference in your accent?
My family do.
Okay, because whenever I came after living 3 years in Germany, I went to the bank, and they looked at me and it's like, "What
Yeah.
accent do you have?"
Yeah.
Because I've been living in Germany and working with Germans and trying to like communicate with them, and I would, I guess, pick up the German accent.
Yeah. My family call it the American twang.
Okay.
Dwayne?
Yeah,
So-
they
so
say that I
you-
have like a long slur on my words or something like that, and they're like, "What are you doing? Why are you talking like that? You're in England."
So you have an English twang or Southern Ohioan twang.
Yeah.
So Peter, we've got a few minutes left. Tell us a little bit about your internship that you're going to.
I've just got an internship at a company called CIT Aerospace down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They're an aircraft lessor, and I'll be going there as a commercial analyst and market research intern, starting on the 13th. So I fly down next week. I'm really looking forward to it. I managed to use my undergraduate degree and my MBA, but my undergraduate degree was in aviation business, so I've used that as a tool to get myself in there on the interview process, and then I managed to actually win the internship, if you could say win the internship, a few weeks ago. So I'm looking forward to going down there and spending my summer in
Is
Florida.
that like a paid internship?
Yes, I've
Cool.
also just got
Congratulations.
I've also just got my place sorted, and it's got a pool right outside. It's a separate house with its own pool. So
We will be broadcasting from Peter's.
I may need to come visit you.
so I've got to be back here for pre-season. So I'm back up beginning of August.
Okay. Sounds great.
Well, Peter and Jason, thank you very much for your dedication, your services, what you've done. Jessica, she has big shoes to fill, but just from what we have seen, I think she will hold her own with Jason and Mike.
Hopefully.
Okay,
but
so
we've had
we're at the end.
Thank you for coming. I'm Patrick.
I'm Jason.
I'm Peter.
I'm Jess.
I'm Jason Watson.
And I'm Mike Thompson. We'll see you next week.